everybody, it's Miss Amy at the Grass Valley Library. Because of the lockdown orders, I'm actually working out of my secret lab at home. So I'm glad you could join me for this week's experiment. We're going to be building a robotic hand, and we're going to be studying how the parts of the body actually work. So this is physiology is the study of animals and living beings and all the different parts of their body and how they go together. So we're going to be studying the physiology of our hand today. If you haven't already picked up a bag from the Grass Valley Library, it has everything in it that you need, so go ahead and grab one. You can also get another one at the Nevada City Library. Inside this bag, you're going to find instructions on how to do the experiment. On the back side is some more information about the science involved in this if you're interested in that. You're going to find a large straw. This one has a large diameter. It's for either boba or smoothies. You're also going to find 3 regular size straws. So these straws, they have different uses, so just make sure that you're using the right one at the right time. You're going to find a sheet of cardstock, different colors maybe. And there'll be a small baggie inside your bag that's going to have 5 pieces of colored thread inside, as well as five or more beads. So that's what's in the bag. What you're going to need from home is some Scotch tape, a pair of scissors, a pen or a pencil, and that should be it. So I think we are good to go. Let's start out with our project today with the construction paper and a pencil. The first thing you're going to do is trace your hand onto the construction paper or the cardstock. If you have really small hands, you may want to have an adult put their hand on the page so you can trace that instead. It turns out the bigger the hand is, the easier the project is to do. So go ahead and find an adult if you need one. Otherwise, go ahead and put your hand on the page and go ahead and trace around all your fingers until you have an outline of your hand. You also want to go down your wrist a bit so that there's a little bit more at the end of the paper, and you'll see why in a minute. So I did this a little bit earlier. I'm going to set this aside. When you're all done with that, you're going to cut out the hand. So see how there's some wrist on the bottom as well? You could even have more than that probably. Go ahead and trace that outline and then cut just outside the outline. We're trying to make this hand as big as we can. So this is my hand. I'm going to start with that. The next step is to mark the places where you have joints in your fingers. You're going to mark those places on your cutout hand. So a joint is a place where your finger bends. So each one of your fingers is going to have 3 joints. There's one at the top, there's one at the middle, and then there's going to be one at the bottom where your finger actually meets your palm. Your thumb, how many joints does your thumb have? It only has 2. One at the top, or one in the middle, so that you can wiggle this part, and then one where it meets the palm so that you can bend it all the way over. So you're going to go ahead and mark those on the palm like this. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of see where that lands on each of my fingers. Like that. I made a little bit of mark. When I've done all 5 fingers, I'm going to draw a line across the finger that shows where all those marks are. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back and show you what mine looks like. Okay, so hopefully you can see this. Those are the marks where all my joints are in my fingers. Once you've done that, you're going to bend the cardboard hand or the cardstock hand. You're going to bend that forward at each one of those lines. So I started with my pointer finger. I bent it once, I bent it twice. I'm bending it at the palm. And then I'm going to do the same to all the rest of them. To go through each finger and bend them all forwards until your fingers can move kind of like your own fingers. So your cardboard hand can move sort of like your other fingers can. So we're going to do that, and I'll be right back with that. How did you do? Does your hand look something like this now? Bent at all the right places? I hope so. So the next thing we're going to do is start to add the muscles and tendons that make your hand move. So your hand has, like we talked about, 3 bones. Every finger has 3 bones. Those are called your phalanges. Your thumb has 2. Those connect to 5 bones in your palm, and those are called metacarpals. And then those all connect with tendons, which are these long kind of string of muscles. Those connect down to the main muscles in your arm. So it's actually the muscles in your arm that are contracting and pulling on those tendons and making your fingers do what they want to do. So the first thing we're going to do is build, with your straws, we're going to build the little tubes, which are called tendon sheaths, and that's what those little tendons are going to run through, those little sheaths. They're like little tubes that allow those tendons to move freely. So for each one of your phalanges or bones, for each one of those little segments, we're going to have one segment of straw that's about the same size as that little segment on your palm. In fact, we're going to make them a little bit smaller, and this because if you have them the same size and you go to bend your finger, they're going to run into one another, and your robotic hand is not going to bend the way you want it to. So you want to leave a lot of space where the joint is for them to fold over. So I've gone ahead and grabbed, I'm going to use the blue straw first, and I've cut out 3 smaller pieces here, and I'm going to tape these small pieces onto each one of the joints. So let's see how this works. Hopefully it'll be okay. I'm going to use some tape here. It's going to get a little messy, I'm sure. Okay. So it's going to look something like that. And I'm going to do the next one and the next one, and I'm going to go all the way through, and I'm going to remember to leave the space between each of those joints so that my finger can bend when it hits the one and doesn't hit the one below it. So this can take a little bit of time. So I'm going to do mine. I'll come back and show you what it looks like, and then we'll move on to the next step together. So this is what my hand is looking like. We've got the large tendon sheath here at the bottom. We've got the 5 coming across the palm, and then each finger has 3 and the thumb has 2. The next step is to thread the tendons. And this is kind of the trickiest part. So you've got 5 pieces of string of colored yarn that were in your, let's see, not sure how we can see this. They were in your bag. You also got some beads. So you are going to need to tie the bead onto the end of the string, and that bead is going to stop that tendon from pulling through the sheaths once we get it threaded through. So tie those 5 strings to the end. When we're all done, you might even find that you need to tie some at the bottom as well so they don't pull up through the other way. And then you're going to take one of each color and you're going to thread it all the way through. You're going to start at the top and you're going to thread it through the 3 little sheaths, through the middle one on the palm, and down through the big one at the bottom. And you're going to eventually have all 5 hanging out the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and try and do this, and we'll see how it works. One maxim about all of this is you can't push a string. String is not good under pressure when you push it, but it's really good when you can pull it. It's good in tension. So if your string isn't threading easily, which it might not, you may want to put a piece of tape on the end of your string and then use that like a needle to thread it down through all of the tendon sheaths. How did everybody do? It took me a little bit of going, but a little bit of effort, but I think I got it all together. I ended up having to tape the beads to the back because mine are too small and they would have gone through the straws. But I think I've got it. So if you pull on one of the tendons below, that finger is going to make that motion as well. So there you go. You've made your own robotic hand, and you know a little bit more about how the tendons and the tendon sheaths work to keep your muscles and bones moving all together. So thanks for joining me this morning. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week on another episode of Random Acts of Science.